Hi there, it's May the 7th, and we're continuing our journey through the good news of John. We're in chapter 5 today, and we're reading from verses 1 to 21. Jesus goes to Jerusalem again at the beginning of this chapter for a feast of the Jews. Now, we're not told which feast it is. It's presumably one of the three great feasts. We've had Jesus at Passover. This could be the feast of Shavuot, or Pentecost as we call it, the Feast of Weeks. It could be the Feast of Sukkot, the Autumn Festival, the Feast of Booths. We're not told exactly. But when Jesus is in Jerusalem, he goes to the pool of Bethesda, and there are gathered many sick people. And the sick people are there waiting for a stirring in the waters. They're waiting for an angel, it says, to come and stir the waters. And then if someone gets in the pool, they'll be healed. But Jesus comes to a man who's been there for a long, long time, for many years, and he asks him if he wants to be well. Now, that in itself is an interesting question, because many people who would have been there would have got used to, especially after so long a time, a life of dependence, a life of waiting, a life of receiving alms. And so this question, do you want to be well, is quite a direct one. And the man says, well, I haven't got anyone to put me in the water. And Jesus simply says, get up, take up your bed, walk. And the man actually is healed. He stands up, he goes, and he's healed. Amazing thing that happens, amazing sign that Jesus does here in Jerusalem. But there's a problem. This is the Sabbath day. This is the Saturday, the seventh day of the week, the day that God has set aside for rest. Now, certain people in the Jewish tradition, particularly Pharisees and others of their like, had got into a tremendous industry almost of creating what and what does not constitute work on the Sabbath day. All sorts of fences put around not breaking the Sabbath. One of the things that they take issue with, the main thing they take issue with Jesus, is that he has told this man to pick up his bed on the Sabbath. Never mind that the man has been healed, has been made well and set free from his illness. They're more concerned with the fact that Jesus has told him to take up his bed on the Sabbath. And actually, they're seeking to kill him because they see him as a threat to the status quo. They see him as a threat tradition. They see him as a threat even to God. But Jesus just faces them down and says something actually quite inflammatory in one sense, because he says, my Father is working and I must work. Now, to suggest that any work could be done on the Sabbath is taboo. And so when Jesus says, my Father is working, my Father is actually doing stuff, is incendiary. And so they're really inflamed by this. But Jesus says, actually, I only do the things that I see my Father doing. And this is this amazing statement that Jesus makes, that because the Father loves the Son, he shows the Son what he wants to be done, and the Father and the Son is waiting on the Father's instruction. This constant relationship, this constant relational leadership, this constant working together, this synergy which Jesus portrays that the Father and the Son have. And then this causes even more trouble for the leaders, the religious leaders, because they now see Jesus as equating himself with the Father and making himself, saying he is the Son of God. And therefore they see that as equating himself with God. It's clear here that John is pursuing this constant theme of Jesus being the Son of God, of Jesus being God, as he set out right from the beginning when he said the Word was God, the Word was with God. And here Jesus is basically claiming that, and the Jews have problems with that because they see Jesus actually setting himself alongside the Father. We know, of course, that Jesus has authority because it's given to him from the Father. Today, as we go around our daily work, our daily travels around the world, let's continue to be those who represent this fact that the Father is doing things and we watch what the Father is doing, just like Jesus, and we hear from him what it is we're to do. Have a very good May the 7th.